At 8 o'clock. Um, this is the new agent call. Thank you everyone for being on. My name is Joe Martinez from Texas, now living out in Arizona. I've been with Symmetry about 2.5 years, 2 years and 5 months, something like that. And I'm here to help train and make sure we're all doing the right thing to get started, because we all know that's the hardest thing to get started, right, Jordan? And so I want to make sure y'all are taking notes. It's so important. We're going to talk about some of the things that help us be successful from the beginning or help us get to our learning curve as fast as possible. And the best way for that is what you're doing right now. But most important, what we do with the information that's given to us as we're learning with it, right? And one of the main things is making sure you're taking notes and applying what you use to it. So please don't fool yourself. If you're driving and listening to conference calls, books, and stuff like that, remember you're only retaining about 20%. And that's if you're really good at retaining 20%. I've learned the hard way, so that's my coach to y'all. Is if you're plugging in, that's great. Keep it up, but also make sure you're taking really good notes and applying it to your business, because then you'll see the difference, and then you'll say, okay, the more I plug in, the better I'm getting because I'm applying what I'm learning. So uh, just to get started, we're going to go over what you need to be doing the first basically 90 days as you come in as an agent. And the biggest struggles that we see when folks are starting are really two of the biggest things. And that's we're not making enough dials and we're not sticking to the script. Okay. And I'll say that again. If you're struggling in the field and you just started, it's because you're not making enough dials and you're not sticking to the script. Okay. And let's dig into not making enough dials, right? So we teach to dial until, but what I really want everybody to take out of that is everybody's different, right? Jordan may have came in and 250 dials. She'd book her appointments that she needed, right? It took me 1,000 dials a weekend. And it took me 1,000 dials a weekend for months to get that good, right? Because the really good thing is you can be successful two ways, either by talent or by just your work ethic, by activity. Okay. So you got to choose and you got to find out which one is that for you, right? Sometimes you're in the middle, sometimes you're on one side, sometimes you're on the other. You know, Val Zorn, man, his talent's amazing. He puts in, he doesn't have to put in the effort that I do. I got to work twice as hard. That's right. Yeah, I got to work twice as hard to keep up with someone like Val, right? And and just understand that in the beginning, and the faster you learn that about yourself and you understand that, it gets so much easier to get through your learning curve, right? I understood it from the beginning because I came from restaurant background. So I've never had to get on the phone. I never had to convince somebody to sit an appointment on me. I never had to, talk in front of somebody in a personal home, asking personal questions and try to qualify them for insurance. I've never done that in my life, right? So I knew I had to do a lot more of that, mess up way more than everybody else to get the results that I wanted. I had a really good year last year. I was the top agent in our group, but I assure you, I messed up twice as much than anyone. I got more no's than anyone. I messed up more scripts than anyone. I turned in wrong applications more than anyone. I made more mistakes than absolutely everybody. I've made them all. Wrote wrong names, dialed the wrong phone number, called the wrong person, called the wrong carrier. I made all those mistakes. And the only thing is I understood that and I wanted to do it faster so that I can get past my learning curve and make my life easier and get the results that I wanted with less effort. So when we say you're not making enough dials, understand that it takes whatever it takes for you to book your appointments. When you're talking to your upline and you're setting up your week, based on what you work here, whether it's part-time, full-time, in between, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, just understand you need to have a set number of appointments that needs to be your results, right? So if it's 8 appointments, if it's 10 appointments, if it's 18 appointments because you want to be full-time, just realize you have to hit those numbers, and you got to dial until you hit those numbers, because It's just like any regular job. If you had to clean a kitchen, if you had to turn in a report, if you had to do whatever, you couldn't leave your office, work, kitchen, whatever it is, until you were done. It's not like you walked up to your manager or your boss and said, "Hey, it's 5, I'm out." Right? That doesn't work that way. You had to do your job and finish, right? And then you have to hold yourself accountable. If you're getting to the time limit that you gave yourself and you're seeing you still don't have the results you have, that means you need to work on the process to get that, right? So now you need to track the time that it takes you to dial, right? So if you're dialing 250 dials in 5 hours and you're not getting what you need to, but you only got 5 hours because you keep a really good schedule or you have a schedule, then you need to look at the process of how many dials I'm making an hour, because that's really important. I see that struggle with a lot of agents, okay? I see people say, I dialed all day. Okay, well, how many dials did you make all day? And the first thing that they tell me is, well, I dialed, 180 dials. If you dialed 180 dials all day and whatever, and if you're saying all day, that's an 8-hour shift, you're going way too slow. Okay? Because an average number for you to dial by hand, that means by a physical cell phone or hand phone, and with an actual lead in your hand, you need to be dialing at least 40 dials an hour, 35 to 40 dials. You got to keep that pace and you got to track that pace. If you're on the power dialer, you can easily get to 60 to 70 dials an hour. Okay? So write those numbers down. If you're doing it by hand, 35 to 40 dials, and you got to keep yourself to that, right? And if you're doing it on a power dialer, you'll be able to dial 60 to 70 dials an hour. That's going to make your process a lot easier, and it's going to condense the time that you have invested in your dial time. So just make sure that's really important. You dial until whatever that number is that you and your upline have whatever you need to set up for your income, and make sure you hit that goal. And remember, if you didn't make it on your Friday and Saturday dial time, you're going to have to dial Sunday, you're going to have to dial Monday, you're going to have to dial Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday until you get your set number of sits. Okay? You cannot sacrifice that. It's the most important thing we do. Okay? Because you cannot talk to a family, you can't help anybody, you can't resolve any issues if you don't have a set appointment to talk to somebody. So you got to make sure you're dialing, and then sticking to the script. Okay? I can't tell y'all how important that is right now, more than ever. Okay, if y'all ever, because we all veer away from it a little bit because you get comfortable, and it's good, but right now more than ever, building rapport on that setting appointments is so important. Okay, I set appointments. You can watch me set appointments on a Zoom session, and the people that cut me off and I don't get to build a little more rapport, they're an almost 80% chance they're not going to show up. Okay, you got to make sure you don't lie to yourself and set a fake appointment right now. Okay, because we're dialing Zoom session or booking Zoom sessions appointments, and we got to hold them a little more. We got to give it a little more importance. Okay, because see, it was easy before. I know a lot of y'all seen me dial, and it was like a 7-second appointment. Okay, one, I had a leads. Okay, so that's a big difference. These people just sent it in and they want to talk to somebody, so I had an A lead. But I also drove to their house and knocked on their door. Okay, we don't do that right now. It's so easy for them to do this and say, "Hey, I'm watching. I really like this show." Right? I mean, and that's what they're doing to us. You understand? You got to really understand that. So I have to build more rapport, and I'm learning with all of us together, right? I have to build more rapport up front in setting that appointment to make sure they're on that Zoom session. Okay. So make sure you're sticking to the script. You're asking all the questions. When you're booking your appointments, make sure you write this down, guys. Make sure you're asking that both of them are going to be at the kitchen table. Nothing has changed. Okay. Just because it's a Zoom session, hey guys, it's a good time for y'all to be home. Why are you coming to my home? No, but I want to make sure you're at home. You have time to write down the things that I'm going to cover, because it is important, and I'm going to ask y'all some personal questions. So I don't want people to hear, you're not going to feel comfortable at the coffee shop giving me your social security number. Okay. So make sure you're still at the kitchen table and both of y'all are there with a pen and pad. Okay. That's going to lock down completely different. your appointment, okay? And then that both of them are there. Because when I first went to Zoom, I had a lot of trouble confirming that both of them were there. So make sure they're both there. I've changed and I've adjusted, and my results are way better right now because I'm making sure they're there for both of them are there when I'm getting on the phone with them. Okay. And then make sure you're doing a Zoom session as much as possible. And it's very simple. Once you've got to, hey, yes, 3 o'clock's a great time. You're going to be home. Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, normally I went out to the home and visit you, but right now with COVID, our company's helping keeping everybody safe. And the way we're doing that is we do it through a video call, and we use Zoom. Are you familiar with Zoom? Great. Hey, all I need is your email address. What's your email address? And I'm going to send you the link, right? And remember, be resourceful, okay? There's so many ways to have a video call with everybody. If they're not familiar with Zoom, almost everybody has an Android phone, which has now Duo that does Facebook, calls. And then if not, everybody has a iPhone that does FaceTime, okay? So there's some Messenger from Facebook. Everybody has Facebook. There's so many ways to do a video call. Don't let Zoom be a deterrent, okay? So if they're telling you, hey, I don't have a computer, I can't do it. Hey, you got a smartphone? Great. We can do a video call through that, okay? Don't let them tell you what's going to happen. Make sure you're being resourceful. There's many ways to have a video call. Let's see. Key tips while we're dialing, making sure you're dialing 3 times back to back, okay? And if you're new, yes, back. When I say back to back, I mean, I'm going to pick up the phone, call you, you don't answer, I hang up. I'm going to call you literally right back within 2-3 seconds. That way I let the voicemail go over. Hang up, you don't answer, and I'm going to call you right back again, right? I'm going to call you 3 times back to back. And then I'm going to put you at the bottom of my stack and go through my whole stack. And if I'm dialing fast enough, you could go through your stack 3 times, okay, depending on how many leads you got. But if you're able to do that, that means, yes, in one dial session, you can call somebody 9 times, okay? There's nothing wrong. You can call them more than that if they have a cell phone on the sheet, if they have a home phone, and if they have a work phone, okay? Remember, they filled out this form saying, please call me at this number. So do not be shy. Whether it's a year ago, 2 years ago, 2 days ago, they filled out a form that said, please call me because I want this information, okay? So make sure you're doing the triple dial. When you get on the phone, okay, I highly suggest you record yourself the first couple of times and make sure you practice, okay? When I hear, who was it? Somebody said it in one of the conference calls, or so, I listen to so many SoundClouds, all my information gets intertwined. But it's all symmetry information. But I heard somebody asked Casey, hey, I think it was Todd Spivey that said in one of his, hey, you know what? I was struggling booking appointments, and the leads ain't good, or I'm struggling. I'm having trouble on the phone. And Casey goes, you're not struggling on the phone. You just don't know your phone script, right? So whether you have to admit to yourself you don't know your phone script. Okay, I've been working with an agent that's the problem, right? And everyone has a different learning curve, but you have to practice. I heard Ryan Federico in one of our meetings one time said, oh my God, he said a great thing. He goes, I practiced until I became an expert at it, until I can literally say it with my eyes closed backwards, right? So he would practice on his plant in his office. He would practice in the bathroom in the mirror. He would practice with his wife, with his upline. He practiced with everybody until he knew it word for word, rolling off the tongue, right? So I hear, when you hear yourself and you record yourself, you'll be surprised of how you're not saying what you think you're saying in your head, okay? Because you get nervous because people throw you off your game. It's like the Mike Tyson saying, right? Everyone's ready for a fight to get punched in the face, right? Then everything changes. When you pick up the phone, and I know my phone script and I have it right here, and hey, this is Joe. I'm calling about the letter you sent in. No, and then that's it. You've lost your place. Then they start asking you questions like, well, what is this? Who are you from? Where are you from? it will throw you off your game, and you can't let them do that. But you can't get back to the script if you don't have it memorized. Okay, you've got to have it very well memorized. And then now that you have it memorized, there's one more step. It's different from knowing it in your head and being able to say it and saying it out loud and to somebody. Okay, so you've got to get that practice on the phone where people are going to tell you stuff back, and you have to go back to your script, right? Because I can just say it literally word for word right off of the paper, and I know it and I have it memorized. But all of a sudden I get on the phone and I get off script. Okay, I hear it with agents. I have them record themselves, and they never even knew. They're like, I'm saying it. I'm like, okay, well, record yourself. Let's record it. And we'll record them, and they're like, wow, I didn't say anything other than, hi, this is, Joe Martinez. I'm calling about the letter you sent in about mortgage protection. After that, nothing of the script, right? You're going to be surprised that you're doing that, and you don't know because you're not recording yourself. But make sure you record yourself and listen to yourself, help your upline listen to you. That's what we're here for. Use this as a resource. Another great tool is when you're listening to us on Zoom, make sure you're dialing while you're listening to us on Zoom, because that way you're listening and you're applying it right away. Have it to a volume that adjusts, but that's just what I did. That's my recommendation. That's what I'm here for. Take it for what it's worth. I wrote 350 apps last year, right? But I did it because Jordan right here. I would listen to Jordan and I would be dialing at the same time. To Laura, I would listen to them and I'd be dialing at the same time, not just sitting down listening to them, because you just got to make sure you're applying what you're learning. It goes back to, you're getting the information, but what are you doing with it, right? So if you're sitting down on your couch and you're laid back and you're just watching, you're only retaining 20% of what you're watching. That's telling you right now. It's a proven fact, okay? You're not retaining that information versus either you're sitting down taking notes or you're dialing and, oh, that's what she just said. Oh, boom, they just told me that and I just said it. Look what happened. I just booked an appointment, right? Because it's amazing how I can have an agent telling me I can't book. I dialed all day. I dialed all week and I booked nothing. I'm like, that's impossible. You're not doing something right. And all we do is sit there, listen to them dial, and all of a sudden they book an appointment. It's not magic. It's now somebody's watching you. Now you're doing it right. Okay, that's what's happening. So make sure you're using the resources that we're giving y'all on Zoom, and y'all are on the phone dialing as well. Is my suggestion. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Tracking your numbers. Really important to track your numbers, because that's the only way we can give you help. Okay. You can call me and you can call your upline all you want and say, hey, I'm struggling. But if you can't provide, hey, I've dialed 150 dials, I've talked to 15 people and I've booked 5 appointments, we can't give you we can't give you a good answer and help you if you don't give us that information. And then just make sure it's honest information. If you're horrible, you don't have to fake your numbers. It's okay. I was horrible, 1,000 dials. Okay. Unless any one of y'all are dialing 1,000 dials right now, you didn't suck as bad as I did. I guarantee you that. Okay. 1,000 dials. You can ask my wife. I woke up all day. That was all day dialing. I would literally try to dial 600 dials in a day because I sucked. Okay. I booked, and out of my 600 dials, I was booking 3 to 4 appointments. Right. So you can't tell me it's not going to work. Last year, when we were able to go out to all these meetings and I was able to talk to a lot of new agents, if anyone ever came up to me and be like, hey, I'm struggling, what can you tell me that I need to go dial 1,000 dials? Activity will fix absolutely everything, because I don't care how bad you are. If you dial 100 dials and you only got 1 appointment, I can give you an answer to how to get 15 appointments. Dial 1,500 dials. Okay, I can solve any one of your problems of dialing, because I don't care how bad you are, you're going to dial and somebody at one point is going to say yes, no matter how bad you are. And once they give us a yes, I can give you a reference to your tracked numbers and say, well, it looks like you're going to have to dial this many dials to book your 10 appointments or your 15. Okay. The cool part is as you start doing that, that number starts to get way less because you start getting better, because you start hearing everything and every excuse they can possibly give you. And what I can tell y'all on that is I don't care if you got an A lead or a 50-cent lead or a $3 or $4, whatever lead that you're going to get, they're all going to tell you the exact same excuse. Okay. Jordan gets A leads. I get A leads. I get bonus leads. I've got him 50-cent leads. Okay. When you pick up the phone, they're going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. And I never did that. I just bought a brand new A lead and they just turned it in a week ago. So don't blame your leads, blame your reaction to the answer or the question or the objection that they're giving you. And the way you fix that is getting good at your objections, right? We give you two things that are the best way to get over any objection. That's exactly why I'm calling, and I don't care what they say. Just say that's exactly why I'm calling. You will be surprised if you actually practice that, what will happen, how many appointments you book. Okay? I've shown it in front of agents that it works, right? I don't know what you're talking about. I never turned that in. That's exactly why I'm calling. This is Joe. I got that appointment at 3 o'clock available. Is that going to be a good time for you? Okay. They just told me no. But it's not that they told you no. It's just knee-jerk reactions that people say because they don't know who's calling. Okay? The next best one that I have found is just ignoring whatever they say. Okay? People say things that they just say things. Just people are rude, weird, just want to say something because they don't know what you're talking about. So, hey, I just did it in front of one of my agents here in the office like 3 days ago. I pick up the phone, I dial, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Who is this? Yeah, so tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I'm going to have some time. I'm going to go over, it takes 10 or 15 minutes. Is that going to be a good time for you? What is this about? I'm going to go over that tomorrow in about 15 minutes. This is about the mortgage protection. Is that going to be a good time for me to explain everything for you? They booked the appointment. I sold them an application on Saturday, right? This was an old lead and they told me no, but I didn't get my emotion involved because my job when I'm dialing is to dial. When you're dialing, that's another big thing, right? When you're dialing, it is not your job to answer any questions about the appointment. If you start to do that, the first question you answer, you're done. They're going to ask you more questions. Okay. All you have to say is, hey, I want to know. That's a great question. I'm going to be able to answer that for you tomorrow. That's why tonight I'm going to do some research to get everything set up for you tomorrow. And I'll go over that for you. Right now, all I do is set my appointment. There's nothing wrong with you telling them what your job is to do right now. Hey, Mr. Smith, right now, all I do is book the appointment. And tomorrow, I'll be gladly to answer all those questions for you. I only need 10 to 15 minutes. And they're like, okay, because you tell them what to do, right? We tell them what's going to happen. We're the agent. We're the licensed people that are helping them. They sent in a form and said, please help me. Not the other way around, right? I'm not begging for their application. Remember that. We're not begging anyone. We're not convincing anyone. All we do is sort. We don't convince anyone. We're professionals. Just remember that. Let's see. Setting a good schedule, okay? You got to have a weekly schedule at least, and not a monthly schedule, okay? And every week, the first things you need to plug in. So I do everything online, but I still have a very simple schedule, and I have my conference calls booked in there, and I don't book appointments in between there or anything, right? I have my conference calls plugged in. The most important thing you can do here is get trained, and get trained for free, right? Because you can't go get $100,000-$200,000 job unless you went to school and learned and got trained, paid for a course, or did any of that to go get this, badass career or great income, whatever you're going to do. Here, you get to do it for free. But because it's free, a lot of us don't give it the value that it's worth. Okay? These are people, these are better than teachers in a college. because a teacher in a college is teaching you how to go make $200,000, $100,000, and they don't make it, right? The people that are teaching us on these conference calls are the people making it. I can't give you a better reason to do it. And then it's free. I hear so many people say, I signed up for this and I'm taking this seminar and I'm working. Yeah, that's great. But you get it for free and you can't get on a conference call, right? These are the people making it, and they've made it in this company in 2 to 3, 5 years, and they're making an amazing income. They've changed their life because they plugged in. They did what we need to do right now. So make sure you're plugging in when you're setting your schedule. When I say set your schedule, that doesn't mean, well, I'm going to listen to this conference call while I go on a run, okay? Or while I'm shopping at Walmart and I'm going to just plug it into my ear, right? That doesn't mean you're listening, because you ain't, okay? Because if you live a life like me and you have kids, or you don't, and you're out at Walmart, you're looking at completely other things, and your phone is just on. You're not paying attention, okay? So now you're retaining less than 20% of what you're listening to. So just make sure when you set your schedule, it's actual time that you can sit in front of a notepad and take notes, okay? So that you can apply it to your business or your life that day. And then on your schedule, make sure you're condensing also you want to condense your appointments as close as possible, because the more you do it in a row or back to back, the better you get, right? It's like practice. It's like your first 2 or 3 appointments are your warm-ups, and then the next 3 or 4, hey, you're writing applications because you got comfortable, you got in your zone. And remember, it's like an athlete. They get in the zone. The bad part is it takes a few seconds to get out of your zone, right? So if you have all your appointments back to back and you get in your zone, you're going to kill it. You're going to do a really good job, or you're going to start getting better, right? Because the whole point is getting better. So you're doing back to back to get better. If you have one on Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Friday, I'm just telling you, you're not going to be as good because you don't have the practice back to back. You're getting cold, right? The same thing for dialing. That's why we teach you, hey, dial on Fridays or Saturdays. Get a few hour blocks so that you get your practice and you get warmed up and you start getting comfortable. Because if you dial 5 minutes here, 10 minutes over there, it ain't gonna work. I'm telling you, I've done it and it doesn't work. And we work from home, and some of y'all may find out it's hard to work from home because you get up and you go lay down and you turn on the TV, go wash the dishes, and then you gotta respect your time. And I gotta dial right now. That's what I'm doing. And the best way to respect that time is time yourself. And hey, I gotta dial 40 dials an hour, because that's what me, my boss, I'm my own boss, expect me to do. So just make sure you respect yourself like that. Let's see, role playing and handling objections. You can go on to Symmetry under training. There's a great handling objection guide. It has like the most common objections that we have. They're really good, but you got to memorize them to be able to say them. Okay. Don't think you're gonna, unless you're super smart. I'm not. I can't read it one time and say I know it. Okay. If you're going to use them, you have to use them right. They're tools. That means you have to know exactly how to respond to it if you're going to use it. Or you can do what I did and just use the easy way, which is, that's exactly why I'm calling it. Okay, up to you. Budget. According to what you want to make, right? And you got to get what your upline, because everybody's absolutely different. But, just a common number that we teach everyone: if you spend about $250 in leads, write this down, guys. This is very important. If you spend about $250 in leads, you're going to make about $1,000 to $1,500 in net income. Okay, that means you're going to make a little bit more, but we're running a business. You got to take those $250 that you invested back out because it's part of your business. You're going to net about $1,000 to $1,500. Now, here's the key. If you invest in $250 worth of leads, you have to resolve $250 worth of leads. And you have to understand this is a business. It's not like I buy my leads and I resolve them all in one day. Okay. I've never heard of anyone resolving them all in one day or one weekend. realize it's an investment. So when you set your budget up, look at a month, at least a month, okay, and say, hey, you know what? I have X amount of dollars, split it up 4 ways and buy leads every single week. Okay. If you operate any business, you cannot say I'm going to purchase my inventory one time and I'm going to make it for the whole month. No, you're not. Okay. You have to purchase every single week to continue to get the results you want. So I'm just going to use the numbers they give us, right? So $250 a week, that means my budget's $1,000. And you can adjust this to whatever it is. If your budget's $400 for the month, then buy $100 worth of leads every week. Okay. Just realize it's a business. So if you start writing applications, you're applying your income, or should I say you're applying what you're making into more leads so that you can get to the $250. Okay. My very first purchase of leads was $158. I grew it to, I've spent $1,200 a week in leads, but I went out and made $6,000 to $8,000 a week from my investment. So what I want y'all to learn is the $250 in leads a week results in $1,000 to $1,500. You can turn that up or down. I decided to turn it up, right? If I went $250, that means I bought 500, and now I was making 2,000 to 3,000 a week. I turned it up even more, right? $750 a week. Now I was making 4,000 to 5,000 because it starts to multiply. Because what you do is you build a funnel. Okay, that's why I said you don't resolve all your leads the very first week, because you don't. Right? You're going to dial as many, and if you do what you're supposed to, you're going to resolve about 90% of them. Okay, because the rest you're just not going to get a hold of them. Okay, so now next week when you go back and buy more leads, you now have, so if you bought $250 worth of leads, and let's just say it totaled 20 leads, now you have your 20 leads plus the other 5 that rolled over. So now you got 25 people to call, right? You resolve 90% of that. You go to the next week, you get another 20 leads, but now you got 10 that carried over. Now you got 30 leads. That funnel continues to grow. That's why you got to make sure you build a budget that's long enough for you to see success. Okay, it's not like you're going to buy leads twice and boom, you made it. That's not the way it works, right? You're starting your own business, and the really cool part is it's very inexpensive to start, and it goes on your own budget to be able to start it. Speaking of, so that's your budget for your leads, right? We're not here to just be producers, okay? Because we teach you, I mean, and if you are, that's great, but there's 2 ways to make an income that we teach you, okay? One, you go out there and personally produce, okay? The other is you go out and build a team, because you get paid on your team's sales as well, right? We get a commission off of everyone else's sales, and we get our raises off of everybody else's sales. So it's just smart, right? But make sure, same thing, you got to have a budget. Whether it's $25 a week, whether it's $100 a week, you have to give yourself a budget. Okay. So when you say I have $100 worth of leads in my budget for this week, you should invest the same amount that you're investing in leads in your recruiting budget. Okay. That's just a good number to have. If you can't start it, that's fine. Start it wherever you can, but start. You can't tell me if you're buying $200 worth of leads, you don't have $25, then adjust. Buy $175 worth of leads and buy 25 and invest a $25 ad. Okay. But if you want to do it smart and you have your budget and you at least create a budget of about $400 for the month, then invest in ZipRecruiter, because ZipRecruiter does 50% of your work. You put an ad, they apply to it, it sorts it for you, and all you got to do is call these people that applied to your position and they're looking for it. Okay, so, and that's just a great way to start, and you'll be surprised once it takes one person. You find that one person, you find a Joe Martinez. Okay, ask Mark Neubauer. You find a Joe Martinez. Okay, you make $4,000 in override a month. because I averaged 30,000 in APV. You're not looking to be the best in this industry. You're looking to find the best, right? I'm not trying to be the best producer, but I got to make that income to feed my family. And my wife likes nice things. Okay. What I'm looking to do is find somebody better than me. Because when I find somebody better than me, my life becomes way more easy. Because now I can adjust my schedule. And it doesn't mean I work less. It just means I'm able to invest more time in what's going to create more income and more passive income, right? More income that continues for the rest of my life. Okay, because I can go out there and write all the apps I want, but I get commission one time. That's it. But when I go find a Jeff Miller, when I go find, a James Martinez or anyone, whoever's out there, a Laura, Jordan, you find one of them, they go out and continue to bring in that income. And then you help them get better. You're going to love life. Okay. You find 10 of those people, you'll be on an island somewhere. What else? Let's see. Resolving all our leads, massive action, constant correction. You hear that a lot. That's really simple, guys. You got to make sure you put in the activity. A lot of people call me and ask me what we're doing, how we do it, or what I do. And you'll be surprised. It's a simple answer when I ask them, well, tell me your schedule, right? And it's about 30 hours, 40 hours worth of work, okay? I put more hours than that. And if I'm getting the results I'm getting, why do you think you that are learning and still in your learning curve would have to put in less hours than me? Just remember that, right? And not me personally, just somebody that has the results that you want. You'll be surprised of how much more they're just outworking you, right? The producers that are way above me, it's not that they're better than me. They're just working a lot more than me, right? A lot harder. They invest more time, more in leads, more in themselves. They just outworking me, right? I just got to get on their level. And you do it in stages and just make sure you're prepared to take those steps to get better, and it gets easier, right? And don't think it takes less time later on. It's just your time is invested in different things that just ain't as hard. Okay. Because it's hard to go out there and produce, right? But when you do it long enough, you get enough people underneath you, you get to start working on them and working on yourself and building a bigger team, and you're making more money, right? We're helping more families. Your family's being helped out way more, because it's all about what you put in, and that's what you're going to get out of it. So just realize you're going to have to invest some time. Okay. Don't think, when we say your learning curve, don't think it's just going to be like, boom, I got it, and that's it. Okay. I've done it for 2.5 years and I ain't there, right? I still got a lot more to do, because now I'm where I wanted to be 2 years ago, but it's not where I want to be today. Okay. So you never arrive, and you got to understand that. So you have to know, that's why the people that make it here is just a certain type of people. It may not be for you. You got to be self-driven. Okay. You got to be able to ask what's next. You got to be willing to plug in, and you got to be willing to put in the work, and you will get amazing results. I have literally transformed my life, my kids' lives, my wife's lives in 2 years. I didn't do that in a 20-year career that I did before. And I did it here in 2 years. Okay. It works. It's hard work. Make sure you plug in. Make sure you ask us as many questions. If you're not asking questions, I still ask questions. So when I have a new agent that never calls me, I don't understand how they're going to get better, because I still have to call Chris Cook and Mark. How does this work? What about this? What about that? Why? If you're not calling your upline, that means you're trying to figure it out on your own. Why? We're free. We're free training. We're here to help you. My goal is to help. All our goal is to help y'all get better faster. Use us, please. I can't tell you how much I would love to see y'all plug in way more. Okay. I still call my upline, but I called my upline more than twice a day for the first year. That's the only way I was going to get better. Okay. Y'all have to understand that. You're not bothering us. That's what we're here for. So we're going to give you the resources to find the information so that you don't spend an hour trying to look for an answer. Okay. I may not give you the straight answer. I'm going to show you where it's at, right? But it's going to take an hour out of your day because you had too much pride to ask a question. Just make sure you're willing to ask those questions to learn more. First 9 months, and then we'll open up for questions. Actually, two things. First is remember your first 9 months are so important and they're the hardest because the way we get paid is we get a 75% advance of whatever you write. What that means is you're only working off of your first 75% of your income the first 9 months. Once you get to month 10, 11, and 12, you're starting to get your back end pay coming in monthly on its own, right? So if you plan it right, I understood that from the beginning. My goal with my first 9 months was to write as many applications as possible because my future 10-month and on self is going to enjoy that life. It made it so much easier on month 10, 11, and 12 to start recruiting and start investing in an office and start, investing in more leads, whatever I wanted to, when I had that back end pay. Okay. The way back end pay works, and write this down, right? So month 10, 11, and 12, right now you average, I think it's $70 application. Okay. On the back end pay. So, and you know what? I'll give you a flat number, 50. Okay. Just write this down. You get $50 on the back end pay of every policy, month 10, 11, and 12. So remember, in month 10, you're getting your first month's worth of policies, right? Month 11, you're getting your second month's worth and your first month's worth. Month 12, and you stay there, you get 3 times of whatever you wrote because you got month 1, 2, and 3 now compiled in month 10, 11, and 12, or should I say 12 and on? Okay. So I averaged, this is a beautiful number. I averaged 30 applications a month. So compiled, that's 90 applications. Multiply that times 50. That's what I get in back end pay every month before my month starts. Okay. And there were months I wrote 50, 60 applications. So just understand that number and realize that help is on its way, right? Because your first 9 months, oh my God, it was hard, right? I'd call Chris and I'd call Mark. I'm like, dude, this is tough, right? I'm investing and I want this and I want that. And Chris, I think month 6 told me, because you realize help is on its way, right? In 3 more months, it's going to change everything. And it did. It changed everything. So realize your first 9 months, it changes everything because you have that back end pay. And then second, to make sure you have that back end pay is issue paid. Okay. I don't think we talk about this enough. When you write an application and you submit it to the insurance carrier, every single morning until that policy is issued, paid into your bank account, you better call that insurance carrier. Every single morning. Okay. Every morning, the very first thing I do when I walk into my office is look at all my policies that have not deposited into my bank account, and I call them, even if I called them yesterday. Hey, I'm just following up on my policy because they're waiting on, oh, I just wanted to verify their birth date, or we wanted to verify why they're taking metformin, or you never know. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, we'll just send it to processing. What? So what if I didn't call? It would sit there 2 more days, right? I'm here to make sure money gets deposited into my bank account and I help as many people as I can. Okay. That means I have to call every day, because when I call every single day, I'm making sure I'm protecting the people I said I would protect. And then I'm making sure the money's getting deposited in my bank account. Okay. Because I can't move forward without those 2 things happening. So make sure daily you call the insurance company and you resolve and you get paid. You get issue paid. Okay. Because that's how you'll get your back end pay. It's got to stick on it's got to get on the books. And then y'all can unmute yourselves, I believe, if y'all have questions. Let's rock and roll.
Rich actually had a question in the chat. Yeah, he typed it earlier while you were talking.
Let's see.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. My question was just wondering when you first started, whether you found a sweet spot of, which lead type, whether it was 50 cent or 3A or 5A.
I started with 2As and 3As. And then once I got better, the best next step would be 4A and 5A. Absolutely. You want to stick there, because realize a 5A is just the lead I took 5 weeks ago that I haven't been able to get a hold of. That's what a 5A is. Okay. It's a lead that I took 5 weeks ago and I couldn't get a hold of them. Okay. And if I don't do my job right and I only dial 1 day or 2 days or whatever it may be, or what if I'm calling, because we teach everyone to dial at least mainly Fridays and Saturdays. But when I worked in a restaurant, I worked all day Friday and all day Saturday. So if you ever called me on a Friday and Saturday, I would never answer your phone. So that's what happens to a lot of leads. And realize a 5A, you're talking to a really good lead, even a 4A lead. But you don't want to start off with them because you want to get your practice. Because I don't care if you're buying a 5A lead or a brand new lead, they're going to tell you the same thing. So you got to learn how to get around all that. And you want to do it with with the most amount of leads in your best budget possible. So you want to start around 2, and then you want to get it. You want to go up as high as possible, right? So your goal would be, once you prove that you can close and you can help families and resolve your leads, is you want to start a GMR at one point. Okay. You got to understand that if you don't start a GMR at one point, you're not making sure you're having the resources that you need to continue to grow. Right. So I started my GMR 4 months or 5 months into me working. So I started in April, May, June, July, August. So 4 months, I started a GMR of 5. By the end of the year, I had a GMR of 15. And then all last year, I had a GMR of 25. Okay. Because you got to understand, you got to turn up that thermostat, right? So I understood if I wanted to create $240,000 worth of income, I needed plenty of resources. So you just got to make sure the more you invest, that you are investing time to resolve those leads, because if not, you'll go broke. That's not what we want. So the sweet spot is up to you and how fast you want to go. That's the answer.
Great. Thanks very much for that. Appreciate it.
Anyone else?
I gotta get me one of those killer accents like Rich.
Right?
Sounds like a good idea. Just to be honest
Help
with
a lot of families with that accent.
Yeah, I don't care if you'd be calling me about my car warranty. I'd probably listen, you know what I mean? Rather than hang up on you. If I heard that, I'd be like, oh, maybe. I don't know what it is. No, so my question, yeah, right. Yeah. How much is that? No, I wanted to ask a question because I feel like as a new agent, when I was a new agent, we were just starting the Book of the Month Club and starting reading that. And, for all of our new people, I remember being in your shoes and thinking, okay, so we just have this like 15-minute insert about a book at the beginning, and then we get into what we're going to talk about on the call. Could you edify the importance of what reading was for you as you were a new agent when you implemented that to your business starting out?
That's a good one. Reading has changed my life. Okay. I have never read before I started with Symmetry. And I didn't start getting the results I wanted the way I wanted to until I started reading, because reading just took my game to the whole nother level. I can't even explain it to y'all. The only way I can show you is if you start reading, okay, and applying what you're reading, okay. It got to the point where my wife would be like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And I had to plug her in because I was changing. Okay, my result, whether I got my results or not, I was changing the way I was handling them. I was changing the way I'm raising my kids. I changed the way I treat my wife. I changed the way I treat others. And by doing that, changed the way I worked. Okay. I still have the work ethic, but I think of things way differently. I resolve them and I absorb impact or difficulty completely different, with an open mind. And that's really what changed, that's what got me from 15 apps a month to 30 apps a month. It doubled my business, being able to read and understand, because it's not like a book changed anything. It's I changed and my results changed. Okay. I was able to absorb way more heat and way more impact. And when I say impact is rejection, objection, difficulty, drama in your life, right? Because we're all human. We can argue with our spouse. We can have a hard time with our kids. We can have a hard time with our bills or whatever it may be, right? I've been there. And you come to work and you're not focused. And if you're not focused in this is, we heard it in yesterday's call. This is emotional labor and mental labor. Okay. That means you have to be prepared to have really good conversations and be on your game. And you cannot do that if you're upset with your wife, your kids. You need to pay your electric bill, and the only way you can get that out of your mind is if you start reading books and you start understanding you got to compartmentalize things and say, hey, this is not right now. This is right now, right? Because if you ever heard me speak in any one of our meetings when we're training y'all, is before I start any appointment, I reset myself and I make sure I'm 100% for that family, because I want to be 100% of myself and the best version of myself for that family. And when you do that, you'll be surprised everything changes, right? Because it almost falls into what we talked about and even Cicely talked about. We're there to listen, consult, and help that family the best way possible. We're not selling them on price. We're building value. And the only way you're going to build value is you got to care, right? But if you're upset and you don't want to have that difficult conversation, because they're difficult conversations. Hey, Jordan, if Jared passed away tomorrow, where are you? Where does that really leave you? You're not willing to have that emotional labor in that conversation because you're upset with something else. So reading books it opens your mind for more information and deal with things different. So you really got to plug in. It's really cool.
I love that. Honestly, that was great. Thank you so much.
I love reading.
Hey, Joe, I have a quick question for you.
Uh-huh.
I have a quick question for you. Why would a new agent start to build early? Can you kind of reiterate the reasoning behind that?
So it goes back to, we train you two ways to make an income, right? And one is going out there and producing, the other one is building. So if I'm teaching you make an income two ways, one, why are you not doing it, right? Why do you only want half of the pie when you can have the whole? That's simple for me. But the next thing is, and this one's really cool. I like this because this is why they make leaders, or they ask leaders for us to step up and have these conversations with y'all, their training sessions, because the way you stay good at your game is by teaching. Okay. Because I have to be good and prepared to answer questions for my team. That means I have to be studied, educated, learned, and at 100%, so that when a Jeff Minder calls me and he says, how do I solve this? Or what happens with this policy? Or, hey, I'm struggling here. How can I work on this? I have an answer. Because if I'm not out there doing it, or I'm not at 100% to answer that question, I can't. So when you start, you'll be surprised when you start building, it forces you to step up your game. And that is the number one reason we don't build from the beginning, because you feel that you're not ready to answer a question for a new recruit. And that's not what we teach y'all. Remember, we teach y'all to use us and your upline to help you recruit. So use the system. because when you start building from the beginning, remember, as soon as you hire somebody, you get bumped in commission. As soon as you hire somebody, when y'all are both writing, that goes towards your raise. Now you're making, so from the first month, you can start making your production and you can start making your team's production. That you start making a team production your first month, guess what happens 4 weeks later? You have a budget to increase your lead intake and your recruiting intake. Okay, so you want to go slow or you want to go fast? Symmetry is a vehicle. Okay, you want to drive it like a Ferrari or you want to drive it like a Ford Pinto, that's completely up to you. But if you start building right away and you go find a Betsy Barr, a Dustin Hensley, okay, you find them your month 1 or 2, you're going to be a lot farther than I am 2 years later. Guarantee you that.
So, Joe, I have another question. Do you feel like you would be able to lead your team or answer those hard questions if you weren't reading and growing and developing yourself?
I couldn't, and I didn't. No, absolutely not. So I told myself I was recruiting, but I wasn't until I started reading and plugging in. And that goes into reading books and plugging into the whole system of Symmetry, which is all the conference calls. Because then I understood and I paid attention and I took notes that it's not my job to be the best. It's my job to show everyone Symmetry and learn from my books and be able to be a great leader. And a great leader doesn't hold somebody back because they're not ready for the next step. Okay, so just remember that. The reason we don't start building is because you're scared. You don't want to answer the questions because you can't. Okay, but it's not your job to answer all those questions. It's as simple as when I'm booking an appointment and they ask me a question I don't know the answer to when I'm a new agent. That's a great question. I'm going to answer that for you on our meeting on Tuesday. That gives me all night to get the answer from my upline, right? So the same thing when you're recruiting. Hey, how do I get commission when I have 3 agents and blah, 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 whatever puts you in a nervous position and you don't know the answer. That's a great question. Tomorrow when our STP is scheduled, we'll go over all those answers. Hey, Laura, this guy asked me this. What is this? Right? How do I answer this? Not, that's what the system's for. And I have a lot of restaurant references, right? So when you go to a restaurant and you ask the server, what's in this? You don't have to lie. The server doesn't got to tell you, I don't know, or whatever. That's a great question. Let me go find out. I'll be right back. And they tell you what it's for, right? That's the best way to resolve any question. So when you're reading, you start learning that you have all these resources and you're open to everything, and you stop being embarrassed and you get out of your own way to help grow your own business, your own self, and everyone else around you.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Yep. Anyone else? Don't be shy. Ask. Trust me, everybody's thinking about it.
Ask your questions. This is a great time to ask Joe your questions. He is a top producer.
Let's see. Well, if no one has a question.
Do you set times on your schedule, like 2 hours of reading, same time every day, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I try to keep a really good schedule, and I'm still working on it because I really want to get up even earlier. But if you've ever heard of the Miracle Morning or you've read the Miracle Morning, it's a great way. And even just about any leadership book or biography of somebody that's really successful, the first thing they're going to tell you is start early and get your mind right. So I read in the morning, and I try to work out in the morning and set myself, because if the whole purpose of reading and applying is, that means you got to have time. So if you read at night, the problem with that is you're done with the day. Versus if you read in the morning, you get to apply it for the rest of the day, right? If it's teaching you, because if you start reading all the books that we you read, they start teaching you, hey, how to get over these no's, or how to, you know, be something different in somebody's life today, and all that good stuff. You're able to do it that day, right? So if you read and you take notes, you're able to apply it that day. So I always suggest to read in the morning, you know, 10 or 15 minutes. It just depends on how fast you read. But when you do read in the morning, it is so important. And I didn't do it at the beginning. This is why I say it's so important. It changed everything when I started applying what I was reading, and I made it a purpose to apply. Even if it, you know, whatever you read, it may be little random stuff, but you know, if it just tells you to smile all day, whatever it may be, if you make it an effort to apply it that day, and then apply it in both your business and life, okay? Because the better your home is, the better your business is. I can assure you that, okay? I ran other businesses when I didn't have my house right, and it doesn't work out, okay? So apply it at home, and you know what? It's probably apply it at home first, then your business. Because when you're happy at home, you're happy at work. So if you're gonna have it in the schedule, just have it in the morning. Strongly suggest.
Joe, what are some of the books you suggest reading?
My personal for here is Never Split the Difference, because we're negotiating with ourselves and with everyone you talk to, right? And it's going to teach you how to negotiate, and it has some really cool stuff about mirroring people and dropping anchors when it comes to helping people make a decision in the options that you present them.
You said it's called Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference.
Okay.
By something Boss.
Who's that author?
His last name is Voss, V-O-S-S. I forget the first name.
Oh, that's good.
And then the next one would be The Perfect Storm. I think it's
called the next perfect storm.
The Next Perfect Storm. That one's a very short book, but as a new agent, 100% you need to read it. It will edify why you're in the business that you're in right now.
Okay, and who's that by?
Ooh, that
By
one.
Patrick, I got you. It's Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So, and that one's really good. So if you just started, knock it out. I'm telling you right now, it's a really short book, but it's a really cool look at where the whole United States economy, the insurance industry, the timing that we're in right now, like the years from 2011 to 2030 or 40, it's just a really cool. And we read it about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and it's happening. He already said it's crazy. So it will super edify and give you, and it's going to pump you up of why you need to dig into the business right now and recruit. So read that book definitely. And then that's a good question. You said that one. For SoundCloud audios to listen to, guys, write these down. It's Mastering the Phones. If you haven't, listen to that one. And then Working Older Leads. Okay. And then the most important one for me, still to this day in SoundCloud, is Emotional Labor. And we heard about it yesterday. Okay. Emotional labor. We make our money with our heart in a home. Okay. Anyone else got anything? Not, we'll wrap it up.
So one of the earlier questions, I'm not familiar with all the different terminology yet because I only met with Chris today, but you were talking about 2A and 5A and all of that. What does that mean? The number of weeks, how old those leads are, or what does that actually
mean? Yeah, so we rank them, and that's how we call them. And the only difference in any lead is how long ago it was turned in, right? So if it's an A lead, it was just turned in, then it drops to a 5A and it goes all the way down to a 1A. And just basically, the less it costs, the older it is.
Okay. Does 5A relate to a specific time since it was turned in, though, or?
Yeah. So you can go into symmetry and under marketing, no, under support and leads. And in there, it specifically tells you how they're ranked. Like,
Okay,
like
perfect.
that
No,
date.
I'll check it out.
That's a good question. And then it tells you how much it costs each one and everything.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Well, then, please, I hope, apply everything y'all have learned today. Even if it's one thing, I guarantee you, every time I went to a meeting or every time I heard somebody, I made it a personal goal to apply what they taught me. And it has completely changed. It changed everything in what I was doing. So it doubled my business from my first meeting that I actually went to, which this is what a meeting was before, but in person. And I just made it a personal, I just made sure I committed myself to every time I learned something from somebody that was getting the results that I wanted, I was going to go apply it. So if you do that, I guarantee you're going to have results. Just always counsel with your upline. Anything you hear from any one of us, and say, hey, I heard Joe talk about this, and they're gonna best fit it into whatever you're doing in your business. So make sure you do that.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Y'all have a great day.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See ya.